Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for another 4v4 TMM match played on the map Ian's Cross. Before we get into introducing our players, I would like to direct your attention to the buttons down below. The like, dislike, subscribe, bell, join, and super thanks buttons. All of them are useful. If you like it, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. And of course, leave a comment down below telling me what you think as we get into introducing our players with Team 1 on the left and Team 2 on the right. We're going to start in the south with Team 1 and the orange Cybern player going first land by the name of Nakad. Moving over to the west, we have a red Cybern player going by the name of Korobin. Then up to the north, we have yet another Cybern player. Exod is his name, and he has gone first land, and he is yellow. Then we have, last but not least for Team 1, a maroon Cybern, so full Cybern team for Team 1, by the name of Papa Kababa. And he has gone first land. As we move on to Team 2, starting yet again in the south, we have a blue Cybern, so we have 5 Cyberns in this 4v4. Going first land. No, he didn't build a single structure, he just walked to the middle, and his name is, of course, Ikrik. As we move over to his ally to the north, we have a Cyan UEF who gifted an engineer over to Ikrik. How kind, by the name of RKX. And then up to the north of them for Team 2, we have ourselves 2 players, and we'll introduce them one at a time, starting with the blue Seraphim going first land by the name of Lieutenant General Fluffy, and then his ally, the purple Seraphim, going first land by the name of Scoob. And with that, we have all of our players introduced, and we can talk about the map, a map I find contentious and bad for the map pool. And the reason you see all these comms walking to the middle is, of course, there is a full Tsar wreck here in the middle, 36,000 mass. Basically, this decides the game 90% of the time. You rarely see the players who gain control of this area early fail in their objective of winning the game. So, in general, I don't like this map and it being in the map pool. Speaking of which, I don't know if it's going to be underneath this video, but very soon I'm going to be coordinating with the Fat people. We're going to put a coding bounty on a veto system for Forged Alliance Forever, so if you have a few dollars to contribute to make FAF all that much better and make the TMM more fun for all of us, please consider going down into the description. If there isn't a link, I will have a pinned comment telling you the situation with that, and we will figure it out as it goes. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on. We currently have 7 of the 8 comms on their way or already into the middle. Team 2 getting here a little bit earlier. Ikrik already reclaiming. You can see him over here sending mass to his allies, so this is going to be very useful for him. He's sending it to seemingly mostly Fluffy, although some is going to Ikrik and some is going to RKX and other people. As over here, we're gonna be seeing a little bit of a factory spam going on by both of these players up here, Scoob and Fluffy, getting a lot of factories online, probably gonna want to get a lot of units down here very quickly. Exod and Papa Kababa are going to be showing up to try and get in on this Tsar reclaim themselves. A lot of shots are being fired in here, and you do have a huge chance of a comm dying. If a comm dies right on top of the wreck, it can deal severe damage to the wreck, although I think the Tsar does not particularly care about a comm bomb, but that is just something to take note of. Some of these players starting to stop taking in mass, as I don't think they can spend it, but I think you just start reclaiming and you don't stop until the comms got a little bit of HP missing. It seems that Ikrik and Scoobs pulled off in order to shoot at Korobin, which is a pretty valid strategy. It's going to force Korobin off. Now Exod and Papa Kababa now going to focus down Scoob's comm, and this could be a bit dangerous. Scoob's comm is going to probably want to walk away. You can see Scoob and Ikrik starting to chase down that red commander as they forgot to stay here. Now they're just going to fire at Exod, and we could have a chain reaction situation if these players are not careful. If one comm blows up and then another comm blows up, you're starting to look at enough damage to kill even relatively healthy comms with multiple comm explosions. Scoob is going to try and walk away now. Nakad is sitting over here, and he's reclaiming, and I think he's getting shot at by somebody or another. And of course, Scoob's going to continue to run away. Papa Kababa deciding to chase down Scoob, and if he decides to fully commit to the chase, he does just kill Scoob here. So this might be our first ejection, as that full health Cybern Comm just needs to retarget onto Scooby's commander, and he does as he strolls outside of the range of Lieutenant General Fluffy. And Scooby is going to be going down in a matter of about 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I was wrong. I was trying to count really slowly, didn't work. Yep, first ejection, Scooby dies at the 5-minute and 43-second mark. His base already gifted over. He sent all of his units to Fluffy, and that means Fluffy has a pretty strong base over here. He has 2 bases very early on in the game. He has all of this land production, and he is still reclaiming, so critically, he can afford this land production as long as he's reclaiming that Tsar, it would seem, as he's getting 50 mass a second just from that, and he is going to have an absolute ton of units to be throwing in here to the middle to try and make life easier. Ikrik in a bit of a dangerous situation as he's now standing in T1 PD range, and there's some D1 units here starting to give him issue. Fluffy is still sitting at full health. All of the comms of Team 1 are critically into yellow health. They've all taken a substantial amount of damage, not anything too critical. As Ikrik starts to fall back with his comm, he's in danger of just being killed off by the double comm of Nakad and Papa Kababa, and he's down now into the red. Is he going to get ejected really early into this match? Is he going to continue his streak of being the very early death for his team? Every time he's casted, he leaves a comment like, "Why do you only cast the ones where I die early?" But no, he does manage to walk away, as it seems as though Fluffy, with the influx of a ton of units, has now scared away Exod, Nakad, and Papa Kababa from chasing down the comm of Ikrik. As long as he continues running in a straight line away from Nakad, he is not in danger, but now he might be facing down the barrel of a very angry Cybern comm. And instead, Nakad pulls off the chase and continues to help his Cybern brethren in fighting off all of this T1 spam coming out from that base of Lieutenant General Fluffy. But now Fluffy has all of these reinforcements here, and it seems as though he's vectoring them towards this top left-hand base. And if he can manage to shut this down, then the fact that they maybe got a little bit more reclaim, and I don't even know if that's true, they did manage to get like 1,000 more reclaim. That's completely negated if Fluffy has managed to get a big enough advantage to roll over this base. We'll keep an eye on that, but here in the middle, need to keep an eye on these commanders. They're all relatively healthy, and they're going to be getting ranks of veterancy very soon if they do not already have one, from shooting down all of these T1 units that were used to save Ikrik's life. Ikrik now has his own spam onto the field. RKX, the only player to not send a comm to the middle, has been developing quite nicely, although it does not seem he's gotten too far ahead of anybody. He has had, of course, that extra mass to spare, but he's not ahead of anybody like Korobin, who managed to get a lot of T2 mexes out of his deal with the Zarek reclaim. And now there are a ton of units over here threatening the base of Exod and Korobin. Or no, Exod and Papa Kababa. And that could be a very, very dangerous force. That's a lot of units. How many, you may ask? Well, in the main attacking force, that's 45 Thoms. And all that's really here to defend is about 14 Mantis. And I don't know if you understand numbers, but 45 is bigger than 17. And, yeah, more shit counters less shit in this situation. Although Fluffy going to pull back, maybe regroup a little bit. His comm now under fire by both Papa Kababa and Exod, who are also still vying for this Tsar reclaim in the middle. 8,000 reclaim left in that, so I'm sure Fluffy more than happy to abandon his assault up here. It doesn't seem as though his opponents have the raw production facilities to keep up with him, so as long as he keeps reclaiming, he can continue to throw these units out here. And I know that Fluffy is a generally decent player, so he's ecoing behind this. He is trying to get enough mass to afford this without needing to constantly reclaim that Tsar. But until he is done reclaiming the Tsar, he is going to continue to use his units to exert control over this central area. It's a very, very beautiful play coming out from a very, very beautiful heathen. I know those words are a little bit contradictory, but you can be beautiful and a heathen too. I think everybody's beautiful, but some people less so. The heathen's just that tiny bit lower on the beautiful scale, but still on it nonetheless. As these units, yet again, another wave of units, they're just going to be thrown into these comms. He doesn't care if he leaves a reclaim field here, because he can always just get more units out on the field than his opposition can seemingly field at the moment. And the more times he pushes them off this Zarek, the more times he's allowed to just sit here and reclaim it himself, the happier he will be. And we can go ahead and see this start to manifest in an overall reclaim lead now for Team 2, and most of that is Fluffy, who's gotten 13,000 mass reclaimed. He's going to be very happy with this overall situation. As here in the middle, a lot of units now showing up. Fluffy might want to consider walking away from this one. He's gotten it down to, that 6,000 is not an accurate number. He's gotten it down to a very low percentage of reclaim remaining in that Zarek. And he probably just wants to get out of there and live to fight another day, as he does have the most oppressive land force on the map right now, and he does need to be a little bit careful with it. The Zarek gonna probably disappear here in just a few seconds as we watch that next rolling wave of blue units out from Fluffy, trying to shut down the plays coming out from this Cybran Team 1. Now claiming 2,000 mass left as he's pulled off the reclaim. He's gotten the vast majority of the reclaim in that Zar, and is now up against some T2 units over here. Although I'm just saying, 2 Rhinos does not deal with this much. You're gonna need to get a lot of T2 production very quickly, really need to assist that factory for Papa Kababa, because this is an insane amount of factories out from Fluffy. He's stalling 100 mass a second, which is not that great at this stage of the game. Has 25 factories actively producing units. Probably can only afford about half that, as you saw his mass stall there. And that reclaim starting to be sucked up now by Team 2, as Fluffy continues to just produce an overwhelming amount of units. Has a lot of units that are now idle, which is a bit strange. Up to 30 factories producing, and up to, he's hovering between -18 and -61, so maybe he can manage to make something happen. Maybe that huge mass stall we're seeing is him actively upgrading mexes. And if that's the case, once those mexes get upgraded, this production will be pretty much permanent, as he will be able to just constantly throw this many units on the field. Of course, eventually T1 does fail you, but until that time comes, he is going to be a huge threat to be reckoned with. Whereas on this southern side, it seems as though Ikrik, in combination with some of RKX's Sparkies building defenses, is going to manage to hold off any kind of aggression that seems to be coming out from Nakad. And it seems as though the 2 comms of Exod and Papa Kababa are now trying to force their way back up here, trying to get on the backside of this spam, which is threatening their main base. A couple of flak over here and a decent amount of AA. I don't think I've seen any real air presence coming out from Team 2, so those are just kind of wasted units. Those could have been Rhinos, those could have been Mantis, so needs to be careful, needs to probably change up the way he's doing his air production. And maybe I was wrong on that, as Natha's starting to come in. If these Nathas can come in and get sustained damage, such as killing off that T2 HQ, that could be huge. Is that what it's going for? Is it going for mass extractors? It's going for the T2 engineers and this T2 mass extractor that was upgrading to T3. Don't know if that was known to be upgrading to T3 or not, but that is going to be a beautiful snipe coming out from Lieutenant General Fluffy, who is now throwing Nathas to the wind and deciding to get as much done as he can. Another bomb gonna come in, gonna take out another T2 mechs, gonna make this production that both Exod and Papa Kababa are doing just that little bit harder to pull off. And now as the units roll into the base, there is little hope of defending against this attack. There's more units always coming into the back. Let's go ahead and just check of the number of units inside the base. There's 24 Zooies and 51 Thoms. These Zooies dismantle these structures very quickly, and you can see they're all on the backside here. They're not taking any of the damage. The Zooie is going to be producing beautiful, beautiful results for Lieutenant General Fluffy here, as he has really just played a blinder so far. with this overwhelming T1 spam. The second Scoob died, he had a plan to make that mass count for something, make that calm death count for something, and now he is getting the damage that he has invested so much production into, and he is going to really shut down both the comms of Exod and Papa Kababa. These players are going to be shells of their former selves, as the economy is already gone, and soon to follow will be this production, which is now hopelessly trying to produce the last few units to maybe mount a defense, but it's just a pointless endeavor, as these players are just in for a world of pain. These two comms now retreating southwards towards their still intact teammates' bases in an attempt to make something happen. Critically though, despite all of this, Team 2 only behind 30 to 40 mass a second, which is quite a admirable thing to be able to do. These two players down here have ecoed very, very well. We have T3 land already finished up for Korobin, and T2 land finished up now for Nakad. There's also a lot of land factories producing. It does seem as though they might have enough to calm the overwhelming horde of units of Fluffy and to hold them back, to keep the gates held shut for the advances of this absolutely oppressive early game army. How many factories does Fluffy have producing? The critical question. 36 factories with 4 idle. Very soon he could have 40 factories, all of which producing T1 spam. And he's not even in a bad economic position. He's only stalling about, at max, he's only stalling about half of what he's producing, which is pretty decent. As many units pour down towards the south, the Cerberus, the full Cybran team comp, is actually going to help out quite a little bit for Team 1, as Cerberus are very adept at killing off T1 spam, unlike the other T2 PD, which have that bit slower fire rate and a little bit more overkill, will struggle oh so slightly more with T1 spam. If these were Oblivions or even Triads, would have some struggles. I would guess that the Seraphim would not have as would do just about as well as the Cerberus does here. Maybe a little bit less so, since their fire rate is still slower. They just have that beam weaponry, which can guaranteed not overkill anything. As units still pour down to the south, seems as though there's a bad rally here. Fluffy does need to be very mindful of the reclaim fields he's going to be leaving. You can, of course, deny the reclaim as long as you consistently continue to throw units into that reclaim field, although that is a risky proposition. You are going to consistently be losing units and making that reclaim field even bigger. Although Fluffy has dropped some engineers up here, he's going to get a ton of reclaim up here, and if he can set up a functioning base in this corner, he is going to be really difficult to stop. He will start getting to that range of being able to produce T2 units en masse, and they will absolutely run over a Cybran firebase if given the opportunity. Let's go ahead and check in on some of these other players. We don't have anything spicy coming out from Team 1 right now. We just have T3 units starting to make their way onto the field. Loyalists showing up. They will do an admirable job at dealing with this T1 spam. Whereas down to the southeast, we have T2 land finished up, Riptides being spammed, and an odd shot choice out for Ikrik. And there are, of course, tactical missile launchers trying to be used to some degree to shut down the economic production of RKX in particular, although it seems there's enough TMD now built up that these players do not need to worry about that too terribly. Maybe a little bit of damage was done. Let's just check that. Up to 4,740 damage done by that tactical missile launcher, so that's going to be a pretty effective use of TML. Probably needs to reclaim it now, though, and stop assisting it, because it is, of course, not going to get much more damage done. We have T3 Air finished up for RKX, and he's going to start building a strat bomber. He did stop at 17%. He's now going to transition all of his build power into building a T3 Pigeon. This large fight in the middle, Loyalists being sent in, Loyalists even using their death explosion to shut down some of this spam and allow the rhinos to get in and do their damage. And of course, they're doing a lot of damage themselves as they run through. They do blap away at these T1 units quite well. Korobin trying his best to dig his team out of the hole that Fluffy has put them in. Call Fluffy a grave digger because he is really, really effective at shutting down what these players are trying to do, and he's really buying time for his teammates RKX and of course Ikrik to really get set up in this game and really be allowing to assist him. And of course he can very soon probably, as I said, transition into that Tech 2 phase. He does of course have Tech 2 Air, which has been relatively useful for him, but I think we really want to see him get to that Tech 2 Air phase. He's transitioned out of Thom production. He's mainly just Zooies, and that's kind of an admission that the T1 phase is no longer going to win it for you. And he is just creating massive reclaim fields around this fire base and the area in which Team 2 has entrenched themselves. Overall, we're still seeing some very effective comms. 49 kills on Exod's comm, Papa Kababa at 57, the comm of Nukad at 30, and Korobin at 1. Korobin not been too active in the fighting, although he does have T2, so a lot of these Cerberus, which are sitting on, like this one sitting on 36 kills, are down to his making and his doing. 3 kills, 2 kills, 19 kills. Some very effective Cerberus this game. A row of Cerberus now thrown up down here to the south to stop Fluffy's incursions. Fluffy does have T2 land now. We're starting to see the odd Ilsheva come out of some of these factories. How many T2 factories does he have, you may ask? He has currently 11, all of which producing at the same time. Where's his HQ? It's strange. Don't know where his HQ is. Oh, it's right here. It's also producing, so he has 12 factories producing Ilshevas at any given time, and that's going to be a lot of Ilshevas very quickly, as his economy can very much so sustain it. Having some power struggles, I'm sure that the T3 power that's about to finish will solve that for him, as the overflow will be great for his economy, and I'm sure he's also building some T2 power of his own to fix that. Although here in the central area, these two comms of Papa Kababa and Exod, who were disgracefully thrown out of their starting base positions, are still making great use of their commanders, still trying to help the team. Currently at 75 kills for Papa Kababa, 94 for Exod, 5,000 mass killed and 4,700 mass killed, respectively. These players really trying to just hold back these tides to buy as much time as they can for their two allies to continue making things happen. And Team 1 is still in the race economically. Technically, they've produced more mass than their opposition. They are still very much so an economic powerhouse. They just need to get some solid footing and stop being pushed back. Of course, all of the reclaim not helping the matter, and of course, they've gotten so much more reclaim this game. Quite ridiculous as these players continue to romp in to the mid-game. We're at the 20-minute mark. It still is looking dire for Team 1, but there are signs of life. There is hope for the first time in a little while as they start to push back the hordes of Fluffy. And over here on the eastern side, we have Loyalists managing to make their way into the main base of RKX. There's going to be some Stinger gunships and this army out from Ikrik to try and help deal with this, along with the comms. Overcharge going to be critically useful right here, as it's going to be allowing RKX to shut down these Loyalists before they get too much damage done. It's just a little bit unfortunate for RKX that he's having to deal with this at the moment, and it does seem as though RKX and Ikrik are going to clean that up, but they are having many more struggles than Fluffy, whereas they are down there fighting off Loyalists on the front door. Fluffy is just trying to keep his forces as close to the enemy as possible, and they're managing to push him back a little bit. Over here in the north, we've had some proxy wars going on. We've had these factories built up by Korobin, and he's been trying to take over this area. He's killed off some T2 mexes and keeps on getting kills with various units out of these factories, although I'm sure relatively soon Fluffy will be able to just throw something up there to clean this up. He is currently using a Natha to try and clean it up, although that's going to go down relatively soon to the ASF in the area for Korobin. And that is going to be that. Here in the central area, a push with Ilshevas does get a little bit further than the pushes with the T1 from earlier, although not gaining too terribly much. Let's look at the upgrades on the comms. We can start with Ikrik, who has gun. Exod has gun and stealth. Stealth now started up for Papa Kababa, who also has gun. Both Exod and Papa Kababa over 100 kills. T2 on to that comm of Korriban, and Nakad sitting on stealth and T2. Fluffy, no upgrades. Ikrik, as I said, had gun, and RKX sitting on T2 and building a Fat Boy. Wow, that's going to be a very early experimental coming out from him. Do we have any experimentals going up for anybody else? Not seeing one on the back lines. Anything on the front lines? No, we do not have anything of the sort happening. Although that is, of course, to be expected. We're only 23 minutes in, so that's a very early Fat Boy. Usually you don't see experimentals on most any map until about the 30 to 35 minute mark is when experimentals generally come online. And it may still be true here, as this Fat Boy I can't imagine is building too quickly. Although he has a lot of mass and storage, if he had more build power on this right now, he would very much so be able to finish this very quickly. So maybe if he can get out a few more T3 engineers, he'll be in a better position to finish that off quickly. Exod on 5 vet, and also Papa Kababa about to reach it. And over here to the north, as I said, he dispatched a few Ilshivas to deal with that. Speaking of Ilshivas, how many does Fluffy have? He has 78 Ilshivas. If you were ever sitting there wondering, I wonder how many Ilshivas is a lot. That's a lot. 23 T2 factories. Decent amount of them are either paused or no longer producing, although they may be producing very soon. 78 Ilshivas is a proposition for Team 2 to handle. The proposition is, I have 78 Ilshivas. If I put them all in one spot on the map, you will have trouble killing them even with these bricks you have on the field. So, what are you gonna do about it? Of course, Fluffy does have that caveat. He needs them to be grouped together. The bricks do slightly outrange the Ilshiva, I believe. So, does have to take the aggressive. He cannot allow his opponent to just sit at range, and he cannot sit at range himself. These bricks getting quite a little bit of value here. So maybe I was wrong, but it does feel like 78 Ilshivas should really just beat out just 5 to 6 bricks. Now 91 Ilshivas. A couple of bricks dropped up here, gonna have to be dealt with by this detached group of land units for Fluffy. How is that Fat Boy coming along? Halfway done. That Fat Boy, when it comes online, may be critical this game, as it'll be a very difficult situation for Team 2 to deal with. Right now, Korriban is really trying to make a statement in this game, trying to say, I am the most valuable player, and I shall dictate this game to be a win! As he is really propping up the team right now. A little bit of a shout out to Nakad as well, who is still trying to put a lot of pressure down here. Hasn't managed to get very much done, but of course you have to take the good with the bad. At the very least, he hasn't lost his base, unlike his allies Exod and Papa Kababa. Speaking of which, Papa Kababa and Exod now in the middle fighting it out with the Ilshivas and the bricks helping them. The bricks being that oh-so-needed HP buffer for these Cybran comms. These Cybran comms stand no chance in a heads-up fight, and as you can see here, these Ilshivas just tearing through the bricks. One at a time, the bricks will fall, and it does not take very long whatsoever for the Ilshivas to rip through that fragile amount of HP in comparison to the amount of DPS on display here. Ras on the way for RKX. He's finished up the Fat Boy. Overall economies, Team 2 now rocketing into the lead, nearly, actually already over 200 mass a second ahead of their opposition. All they need to do now is tech up. They are currently out-teched with the T3 on the field for Korriban and Nakad. If they can get to T3 themselves, if they can make something happen with their units, they could get something huge going on. Fluffy has really dissipated on his land force. He just doesn't have the same numbers he once did. He's working on something, not quite sure what it is. Maybe more T3 mexes. Although, T3 land HQ on the way. He unpauses all of these T2 factories, which are still building just Ilshivas, just pure Ilshiva spam. And he's going to need to get out another wave of Ilshivas to stop the aggression from his opposition. 61 on the field. A lot of those right over here. Just coming off the lines. An experimental did just finish up. What was that? Is that another one? Out from RKX. Am I blind? Where is it? Where is this second experimental? We have... Oh, Ikrik was gifted the Fat Boy. Okay. That's why that popped up. Fat Boy now reaching the front. Throwing shots into the forward bricks and bouncers. Ilshiva's dying en masse as they are outranged. The Fat Boy, only huge risk right now is what's currently being produced. All of these Corsairs could be a problem. Although T3 air has been achieved by Ikrik, but not by Ikrik, by RKX, and he may have more ASF on the field as of the moment. Another brick drop up here by Korriban, just trying to be as annoying as possible. The Corsair spam may be able to shut down the Fat Boy, but it will require a lot of Corsairs. And there is, of course, I'm sure a flak or two mixed in here along with the pair shields will make it a bit more difficult. The large waves of Ilshivas now coming down to try and dissuade this force of loyalists and bricks in the middle from pushing any further forward. And T3 land is about to be finished up. Once it is, I'm sure that a T3 power will be thrown out very quickly by Fluffy, who is sitting on an absolutely colossal, nearly 400 mass a second. And the second Fat Boy now started up. The first Fat Boy still on the field, still getting value, already up to 4,000 mass killed. We'll be able to slowly push this back. A line of Gunthers thrown up very quickly by the T3 comm of Korriban, trying to shut down this Fat Boy before it gets too close to him. Another group of units is going to try and penetrate the defensive lines of RKX, try and get into that base, try and just sort of deal with the Fat Boy spamming man that is RKX. Fat Boy breaches the shield. If it focuses down the shield, it could be in a very good spot, but it seems as though the Gunthers are going to be able to shut down this Fat Boy as the combined Gunther Corsair assault. Gonna do quite well. Need to get the Fat Boy underneath parashields, but it's just too slow. And that's going to be a very difficult loss for Team 2 to deal with, as the units out from Korriban making great headway into the base of RKX. That Fat Boy that was building died. Not quite sure how that happened. Another one just started up right afterwards. Monkey Lord now on the field and heading to the southeastern base. Team 2 may be under dire threat of ejection. Is this going to be difficult to deal with? Comm of RKX and Ikrik both in this corner leaves a large amount of threat that can come from this push. Seems as though the defenses were weakened by that push out from Korriban, and now the Monkey Lord will approach. Another Monkey Lord already being thrown up by the orange Cybran. As the Monkey Lord approaches this base, Ikrik falls back just about as far as he can without just ceding the entire map. Fluffy gonna start coming in with all of these Ilshivas. Ikrik going to valiantly step forward and I guess try to overcharge the monkey. Ikrik doesn't have stealth, so critically, if they have radar, they can know that that's a comm pretty easily. The comm comes into range, starts firing. How many overcharges can he get off before that comm focuses down the ACU? The comm not being focused by the Monkey Lord could be a critical mistake. The pathfinding here is horrid as the Monkey Lord gets stuck on the relief in the terrain and the hill there. The bricks coming in trying to defend against the Elshivas, but that Monkey Lord is in dire threat of dying now. If the Fat Boy comes online, note the Fat Boy's not coming online anytime soon, but the Ravager will. And that Monkey Lord going to have to retreat back to the recesses from which it came. Filthy, filthy spider. Almost as filthy as this Ilshiva spam coming out from Fluffy, who is transitioning into a T3 land spam. A bunch of factories about to finish T3 production, or T3 upgrades, I should say. As a large wave of Corsairs is up here to the north. 18 Corsairs could be a threat. Would like to see the ASF of RKX maybe show up to help, but the ASF are trying to protect the Stingers, which are being used to defend against the last vestiges of the attack coming out from Nakad. The Monkey Lord does manage to limp away at 10,000 HP. Laser finished up now for Exod. Where is the Calm of Korriban? It doesn't have laser yet, but we could see double laser Cyber and Comms here as these two players that have been kind of homeless men with guns. They're starting to reach the late game and they're going to be homeless men with lasers, which is a much scarier thing to be in Path. Second Fat Boy about to finish up. 70%, nearing that green health threshold of, I believe, 85 or 80%. As the Calm of Exod, just fearless, able to fight off so many units with that laser upgrade. Terrain not really cooperating with him, although I'm sure he doesn't care too much. The Ilshiva is going to be dying quite horrible deaths. Second Monkey Lord finished up now for Nakad. Don't know where the first one went. It is currently on the front lines, just kind of dissuading any kind of escape attempt coming from Team 2. Although if it approaches again, it will be in a lot of trouble. Fat Boy's notorious for how much damage they can do. The Corsairs came in and killed Fluffy, who is building a nuke launcher. That base is going to be transferred over to RKX, who I'm sure will start the nuke again. I'm sure these players are all in VC together. Of course, Scooby, RKX, Ikrik, and Fluffy. Part of the group I generally game with, all of them. And they all will most likely be in voice comms together. So that is, of course, an advantage they will hold. Although now we have RKX having to manage a very large swath of the map. Fluffy was only having to deal with the top half of the map, and he wasn't really paying all that much attention up here, just expanding economically. And Team 2 have really started to dig themselves out of a hole, although they're down 500 mass a second. I don't know how many shovels you need to dig out of that hole, but I will be impressed if we see it in this game, as it seems as though the laser comm of Exod is really starting to get some value. 238 kills on that comm, 143 for Papa Kababa, 40,000 mass killed on that comm. Lieutenant General Fluffy was not an efficient man with his units, but he did have a lot of them. I do say more shit counters less shit, but it seems as though Team 2 trying to prove me wrong here. The overwhelming land production that RKX has, and it seems as though he may even be having trouble spending it, as only right now is he able to start dipping into those coffers. Has a lot of factories now producing sniper bots. Those are, of course, a little bit more APM intensive than maybe he would like, but you have to make those calls when you're given them. Fat Boy gonna have to defend against double Monkey Lord out from Nakad. Exod and Papa Kababa continuing to push forward against the production lines of RKX, who has now inherited just such an amazing Ilshiva production. And that, along with just his overall land force, going to be quite threatening. 7 sniper bots and 6 Othams on the field. Doesn't sound like much, but it's still more than the forces currently supporting both Exod and Papa Kababa. This southern base entirely gifted over to RKX Seems as though RKX has decided he is going to run this northern base, and the southern base will be given over to Ikrik, who is finishing up on the murder of the last Monkey Lord. It's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for him to reclaim this. He's lost so much control, although he still has the economy. Both players sitting at 500 mass a second. The highest mass a second on anybody on Team 1 is currently 357. Over 500 mass a second ahead. All they really need is for RKX to build up just a big enough force to force back or kill this comm. And sniper bots are a very good proposition for that. If RKX gets up to, I was about to say, 10 to 12 sniper bots and just constantly targets them onto that comm and uses his forces as a buffer, it can be a very, very deadly situation for the yellow Cybran commander. I think he's starting to realize that now with all the sniper bots on the field. Starting to fall back. Maybe if Papa Kababa also had laser, they could just swath through the army, but he doesn't. Both players at their 5 ranks of veterancy. Double Fat Boy over here on this southern side. Going to be very difficult to deal with now. You basically need to use air to deal with it. And while Korriban does have air control, I'm sure there's plenty of SAMs dotted about. Let's just check. SAMs. 3 SAMs. And everything here is going to be, yeah, if there's no real Cybran tech on the field. As, of course, Ikrik was gifted that from the very beginning. A nuke was launched at this main base. Although I believe we have an anti-nuke. Yep, we have 2 anti-nukes, one of which is loaded. The Guardian for Korriban. So that nuke will, of course, be shot down. May have already been shot down, in fact. Because I don't see it. Yep, already shot down. Laser now on the way for Papa Kababa. Bit of a precarious place to upgrade laser. Although I guess you can argue that RKX has been rather timid with his forces so far. Couple more bricks. This has been very strong suit of Korriban. He's been throwing a couple bricks up here. He kept on doing it, kept on doing brick drops. Here he keeps running bricks by, and he's getting a little bit of economic damage. Although a little bit of economic damage is still, it's water in the, it's a drop of water in the bucket. As, of course, Team 2 still, even after losing the overwhelming economy advantage they did have, still 200 mass a second ahead. Losing a lot of their economy advantage to air, which I'm sure they're unhappy with. Nuke launcher. Still being assisted. Amazingly, we are 38 minutes into the game. Only comms from Team 2 have died. It's down to Ikrik and RKX. The 2 middle-rated players of Team 2 versus the entire lineup of Team 1. That laser upgrade on Exod proving extremely useful, but the sniper bots don't particularly care if you have laser. And he has 24 of them. How many Othams? Only 9 Othams. Would like to see more Othams produced. You can see there, that's most likely, if I had to guess, that's Fluffy. Yep, giving advice, saying rebuild these mexes. Just trying to give these players the best things they can do with their APM at any given time. Good way to show teamwork. And good teamwork in general, coming out from Team 2. But Team 1, I would say, are the kings of teamwork right now. With Exod and Papa Kababa doing everything in their power, despite losing their bases, to just protect Korriban mainly, and also Nakad from the overwhelming pressure that was being put out by Fluffy. And now there's a overwhelming amount of land forces over here. How much mass in land forces is this? 92,000 mass worth of land forces, most of which is admittedly Ilshva's. 57,000 in Ilshva's. Ikrik sitting on a, we'll give him the stingers, 100,000 mass worth of units right now. Very interesting situation. The double Fat Boy starting to push forward. Does need to be careful about the Gunthers. As we see RKX slowly pushing forward. He's using formation move, in case you were curious why these units are moving the way they are. He's using a combination of formation move and normal move. Although formation move here could be very powerful. He will make sure that the sniper bots are in the back of the force, just constantly throwing out shots, whereas the rest of his force can sit in front and really tank up the damage. How many sniper bots is he now sitting at? 29. He's gone to a sniper bot Otham. He's getting some Sathanis in here. One of my favorite units, the Sathanis, or as I usually call it, the Sathanis. The artillery doggos, as they prance about with their four-leggedness. Very cute. We have Fat Boys now sieging in the south. 2 Fat Boys sieging. I should go create a Days of Christmas remix that is FAF stuff.
Strategic launch detected.
As Monkey Lord comes in, the shields of the Fat Boy faltering against the artillery. Does seem as though they shut down one of those artillery batteries in the back. The second Fat Boy going to go down to the strap bombers. Not even gonna leave a wreck. How much overkill was done by those strap bombers, which actually is kind of bad for Team 1, as that wreck could have been useful. They will most likely have control as they have 2 spiders in the area. Megalith now on the way, as it does seem that Ikrik has critically gotten up to T3 Cybran. Don't quite know where, but he does have T3 Cybran engineers. Not an insignificant amount. Right here he has T3 Cybran sitting right next to his UEF factories. A little bit confusing. The forces of RKX sitting on the front line. They're taking some fire. This Monkey Lord slated for death, I would imagine. The second that you can see it, the sniper bots load into that, I am sure. Although you do have the juicy target of killing off that comm, which is at 60,000 mass killed. Oh man, the Ilshiva's burning through the HP on that Monkey Lord so incredibly quickly, along with the sniper bots. Sniper bots could focus down the comm of Exod. Oh, that broadside already bringing him down 4,000 HP. Can continue to do that as long as they have vision of the comm. They don't currently have it though. They can see it momentarily and intermittently. Ilshiva's moving up slowly. That is a lot of Ilshivas. 168. Even just right here, 145 Ilshivas. Supported by 23 sniper bots. The sniper bots are the real damage. The Ilshivas are just kind of the tanks. Although they can just come in and start absolutely murdering everything in their path, they do have so much DPS. A bunch of strat bombers coming in. Would love to see some anti-air in the mix, just to shut that down. T3 anti-air can definitely deal with these kind of attacks. Exod down to half HP after taking, I would guess, another volley of sniper bot fire. More sniper bot fire coming in. More Ilshiva fire, in fact, and now sniper bots are about to kill off Exod, and we're going to see our first ejection of a player from Team 1. A strategic launch has been detected, although I'm not sure where it's going. May have already been shot down. May have come out from Team 2, in fact. I'm just not sure. Too much to keep track of, as RKX is just starting to plow through this fire base. Needs to be careful, does need to give these sniper bots attack moves so they do not move into range of the Cerberus, and they are, which is a critical mistake. So frail are the sniper bots, and that force is going to be dealt with by a combination of strat bombers and artillery and Cerberus. Although I think it's worth it to get rid of that Cybran comm, which has been such a thorn in the side, although now there's just another one waiting for you in Papa Kababa. Although you already built the answer, you already built all of these sniper bots. And you can continue to use them to their utmost highest efficiency as a bunch of Percivals now pushing in. Monkey Lord here to be used as a defensive option, along with some Whalers. Ikrik starting to gain territory, does have a Megalith completed. He's starting to build Monkey Lords at an insane rate. That Monkey Lord just came off the construction yard. And another one gonna finish up. This is not sped up whatsoever. You can just see Monkey Lords are gonna be coming off the lines very quickly as Ikrik 400 mass a second, and he's deciding to throw all of it into Monkey Lords, and he has tons of reclaim right here to scoop up to throw into Monkey Lords. And Mass Monkey Lord seems to be the play he's going with. We saw experimental completed for RKX a little bit earlier. It is indeed a Yathoda. I would not be surprised to see a couple more of those thrown up, as one, yes, indeed, is being built up right here by all these T3 engineers. Mass experimental now started up for Team 2. Team 1 catching up economically, but still behind. The only thing they're ahead on is reclaim, and that is narrowing, as there have been some recent fights on the side of Team 2, and once they can spend their own economies, I'm sure they will start getting into those reclaim fields. RKX having a bit more struggles with spending his economy than Ikrik, who just has, you know, a casual 39 UEF engineers and 10 Cybern engineers building Monkey Lord at any given time. Kind of ridiculous amounts of build power. Does it tell me how much build power is there? Would be nice if it did. Nope, just tells me the cost. Don't know what this box does anymore then. Yeah, that box just seems useless.
Strategic launch detected.
Don't know what that box does. Strange. Strategic launch detected going up here. Gonna shut down at least 4, if not 8 mass extractors, or 5, maybe 6. Pretty decent nuke coming out from RKX there. Is gonna slow down the economic, I guess recovery is still the word we'd use for Team 1, which is mostly Corbin trying to out-eco everybody on the map and successfully doing so. The Megalith and 3 Monkey Lord force over here with the peppering of anti-air and bricks for good measure, making its way down southwest. Still just desperately trying to make something happen with experimentals is Ikrik, and I think if you throw enough at the wall, you'll win. There's only a couple of Monkey Lords defending. A Monkey Lord and a Megalith, I should correct myself there. Although 3 Monkey Lords and a Megalith beat 1 Monkey Lord and a Megalith, as more stuff counters less stuff. And of course we have a bunch of Gunthers here, which are going to be very painful for Ikrik to deal with. Papa Kababa asking for assist on cloaking. Scathis now queued up. That will eventually, I guess, start for Papa Kababa. Or not Papa Kababa, Corbin. Which could be a turning point. If he manages to get it online, it will deal lasting damage. The question is, will he be able to get it online before the overwhelming experimental force that is Ikrik's production gets on top of him? Monkey Lord getting in a range, gonna deal so much damage with that laser every second that it's alive. This Megalith being microed quite beautifully by Corbin though, to keep it alive. Gets it underneath a shield, which goes down relatively quickly. That Megalith getting a second rank of veterancy, really pulling its weight. Although the Megalith out from Ikrik is at full HP and will be taking it down, and will probably get its own rank of veterancy off that. No, it'll get close. As it kills the second Monkey Lord, it will guarantee to get that second rank of veterancy. Another Monkey Lord out onto the field now for Nakad. Although 2 Monkey Lords versus a Megalith. We'll have to see how this goes. There's, of course, a bunch of Whalers, or there were, in the area that could be used. And there's also these bricks. This Monkey Lord trying to do its damnedest to fuck up the main cannons of that Megalith, and it does manage it, getting a rank of veterancy off of that kill. Although despite all of this, I will still mention Ikrik alone has more experimentals on the field than all of Team 1. Of course, they are mostly Monkey Lords, so you have to take that with a little bit of a discount. The worst land experimental, although in numbers, anything is good. Quantity has its own quality, or quantity has a quality all its own. And we have a couple of chickens up here for RKX, and if RKX manages to push in tandem with Ikrik next time, will be a very deadly force, as right now it feels as though Korobin and Nikad only really have the forces to deal with one or the other as far as these land forces are concerned, although the massive number of whalers that are produced now by Korobin may have something to say about that. That's a lot of scouts flying over. Another Monkey Lord finishes up for Nikad. Scath is slowly being built up by just a few SCUs for Korobin. Not wanting to commit everything to that just yet, as he of course is pivotal to defending the base against these large land forces coming out from Team 1. Or from Team 2. Team 1 now finally in the lead as far as economies is concerned, with all those SCUs out onto the field. Ikrik and RKX may be snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. They were so far ahead when Fluffy died. Seems as though they're struggling to keep up economically with Korobin, who is playing a stunning game. Nikad not doing too poorly himself. He's built enough experimentals to really help defend his red ally. But Team 1 has really just been the Korobin show. Papa Kababa about to go down to two Seraphim death balls. He does manage to get shot down. Don't know how that Seraphim death ball was shot down, but Papa Kababa going down. Now it's an even 2v2 between RKX and Ikrik, as well as Korobin and Nikad. The double Yathotas continuing to push forward. Is this finally going to be the death of this oh so troublesome firebase that was built up by Korobin such a long time ago? The Monkey Lord goes down. How many sniper bots is in this force? 33, as long as the chickens go forward. It's gonna be huge. The nuke, though, gonna come down, gonna be trying to shut this down. Does seem as though RKX almost perfectly splits, only loses a few units to that. Chickens do run into the base, which I think might be the best call. The chickens will probably die here, but they will be able to die in the middle of this fire base, which has been so inconvenient for Team 2 this entire game. Chickens forcing their way into the base. That is just casually 5 Monkey Lords on the left-hand side of your screen, by the way. Very threatening force coming out from Ikrik. Water. So delicious. Probably got some water ASMR there, as I just realized my microphone is way too loud and I should change that for the next cast so it doesn't pick up every little thing. Apologies if the audio is a bit borked on this one. Although, I've casted with it probably like this a couple times before and nobody seems to care. 5 Monkey Lords. If formation moving this is a legitimate strategy to win the game right now, I think. Although, running away from the Whalers seems like a more legitimate strategy. The Monkey Lord's AA not going to be insignificant here. These Monkey Lords have a lot of HP and their AA isn't horrible. And of course, all of these mobile AA going to be very useful. Do you have any more chickens? No, but we do have a ridiculously massive... RKX is sitting on so many units. 119,000 mass in units right there. Ikrik is sitting on a much more ridiculous number, though. 179,000. Even has a megalith to help these Monkey Lords in this next push. Nikad is sitting on a paltry 13,000, and Korobin 64,000. Just the amount of mass in units on the field right now makes me really worry for Team 1 here, but the Scathis nearing completion. The question is, can that Scathis deal enough damage to allow you to get enough forces onto the field to stop this? Because 5 Monkey Lords walking at you is significantly difficult to deal with. It's over 200,000 HP in health. And then you have another 100,000 HP in health walking towards you. All of these Monkey Lords have that microwave laser weapon, which is devastating. A strategic launch detected. Critically, the anti-nuke that was up here earlier is gone, so this fire base is null and void, as well as some of the T3 HQs. I believe both of these were from Exod and Papa Kababa, though. As we have an absolutely, honestly beautiful engagement about to start. All these Monkey Lords going to be firing into that megalith. Smoke in the air. Devastation reigned across the map, and as the megalith goes down, so does the chances of Team 1 winning this game. There's still 4 Monkey Lords, there's tons of AA. There is just an insurmountable amount of HP and damage on the field right now to stop this. The Scathis finishes momentarily, but the Scathis won't live long enough to get more than a single volley off. We can also see over here that large force out from RKX is attacking. Mass bank of T1 PD, gonna be able to kill off one of these Monkey Lords and maybe a second one. But the megalith coming in through the back line will be able to clean this up, almost guaranteed. That Scathis gonna be focused down by the Monkey Lord, gonna be a lot of its damage gonna be eaten up by an SCU there. Megalith stops moving forward for a moment for some unknown reason, and I believe that is going to be the game. The calm of Korriban in the base, fighting with Cloak, fighting with Laser, trying its damnedest to stop this assault, to save the Scathis, but the Scathis is gone. And soon will be Korriban too. And with that, the game is over. The final comm is up on this cliff, and we're going to watch it as it does die. Thank you all so much for watching. You've been beautiful. Thank you to Patreons. I'm going to leave you with this shot where we should see the comm of Nakad die. This is Willow, signing off.